Have you ever looked at someone who seems incredibly successful and thought they must have been born lucky? Maybe they had better parents, better education, more money, more connections, or simply better timing. And then you look at your own life and quietly tell yourself, maybe success just isn't meant for me. But what if I told you that this single belief is the biggest lie holding millions of people back? What if the difference between ordinary people and extraordinary achievers has nothing to do with luck, talent, or destiny? What if the real battle is happening inside your own mind? Today, we're going to uncover one of the most powerful ideas that can completely transform the way you think about success. And if you stay until the end of this video, you'll discover a simple shift that separates people who dream from people who achieve. Because once you understand this principle, you'll never look at excuses the same way again. Imagine two people starting their lives on the exact same day. Both have dreams. Both want financial freedom, happiness, respect, and success. 10 years later, one of them has built a remarkable life, while the other is still saying, "I'm trying, maybe one day." What happened? Did one person suddenly become smarter? Did life become easier for them? No. The difference was not in their opportunities. The difference was in the decisions they made every single day. The uncomfortable truth is that every human being has problems. Every successful entrepreneur has faced rejection. Every athlete has experienced failure. Every millionaire has made mistakes. Every confident person has felt fear. The difference is that successful people refuse to use these experiences as reasons to stop. Instead, they use them as fuel to move forward. Failure becomes feedback, rejection becomes education, challenges become training. While others see obstacles, they see opportunities. Think about your own life for a moment. How many dreams have you postponed because you believed the timing wasn't right? Maybe you wanted to start a business, but told yourself you didn't have enough money. Maybe you wanted to improve your health, but convinced yourself you were too busy. Maybe you wanted to learn a new skill, but said you were too old or too inexperienced. At first, these reasons sound perfectly logical. They even feel true. But here's the dangerous part. The brain is incredibly good at creating believable stories that protect us from discomfort. Instead of admitting we're afraid to fail, we say we don't have enough time. Instead of admitting we're afraid of rejection, we say we need more preparation. Instead of admitting we're afraid of success itself, we tell ourselves we'll start next Monday, next month, or next year. The problem with excuses is that they don't sound like excuses, they sound like facts. That's why they're so dangerous. An excuse rarely announces itself by saying, "Hello, I'm here to destroy your future." Instead, it whispers softly, "Just wait a little longer. This isn't the right moment." And before you realize it, days become months, months become years, and years become a lifetime of unrealized potential. Now imagine carrying a heavy backpack every single day. At first, you barely notice the weight, but as the years pass, it becomes harder to walk, harder to run, harder to climb. Excuses work exactly the same way. Every excuse adds another invisible stone to your backpack. One excuse says you're too tired, another says you're too young, another says you're too old, another says people like you never become successful. Eventually, you're carrying so much unnecessary weight that even taking one small step feels impossible. Here's something fascinating about human psychology. We often believe our biggest enemy is failure, but in reality, our biggest enemy is comfort. Comfort quietly convinces us that staying where we are is safer than risking change. It tells us to avoid difficult conversations, avoid difficult decisions, avoid difficult work. Yet everything meaningful in life exists on the other side of temporary discomfort. Growth is uncomfortable, learning is uncomfortable, building discipline is uncomfortable, becoming successful is uncomfortable, but staying stuck is even more painful. The only difference is that one pain leads to growth, while the other leads to regret. Imagine meeting your future self 10 years from today. That future version of you has either built the life you've always dreamed about or is still trapped in the same cycle of waiting. Which version do you think would thank you? The one who finally took action despite uncertainty, or the one who kept collecting reasons why today wasn't the right day?
Every excuse you accept today is a debt that your future self will eventually have to pay. One of the greatest misconceptions about successful people is that they always feel motivated. They don't. They wake up tired, they experience self-doubt, they have bad days, they face unexpected setbacks. The difference is that they don't negotiate with their goals. They understand that feelings are temporary, but consequences are permanent. If they only worked when they felt inspired, they would never accomplish anything extraordinary. This is where personal responsibility changes everything. The moment you stop blaming circumstances, you reclaim your power. As long as someone else is responsible for your life, you remain powerless. If your boss controls your happiness, you're trapped. If your past controls your future, you're trapped. If the economy controls your dreams, you're trapped. But the moment you say, "My future is my responsibility," something incredible happens. You stop waiting for permission. You stop waiting for perfect conditions. You stop waiting for someone to rescue you. You become the author of your own story. And here's the surprising truth. Responsibility is not a burden, it's freedom. Because if your choices created your current results, then your future choices can create entirely different results. That means no matter where you are today, your story is still being written. Every decision you make from this moment forward becomes another sentence in the life you're creating. But there's one hidden excuse that almost everyone carries without realizing it. It's so deeply rooted that most people mistake it for reality itself. This single belief silently destroys ambition, confidence, discipline, and consistency. It convinces ordinary people to give up long before success is even possible.
And the most dangerous part is this: most people never even realize they're doing it. They don't wake up one morning and decide to quit on their dreams. Instead, they slowly lower their expectations. They stop aiming high. They convince themselves that an average life is enough, not because it truly is, but because believing anything bigger starts to feel uncomfortable. Over time, they begin adjusting their dreams to fit their fears instead of expanding their abilities to match their dreams. And that silent adjustment changes the entire direction of their life. Let's imagine a young man who dreams of starting his own business. Every day, he watches successful entrepreneurs online and tells himself, "One day I'll do the same." He buys notebooks, watches motivational videos, reads articles, and even makes detailed plans. But every time it's time to take the first real step, another excuse appears. "I need more money. I need another course. I need the perfect idea." Months pass, then years. Eventually, someone else launches the exact business he once dreamed about. Suddenly, he says, "I had that idea first." But ideas don't change lives. Execution does. The world doesn't reward the person who thought about success. It rewards the person who acted despite uncertainty. Think about how often fear disguises itself as logic. Fear rarely says, "I'm afraid." Instead, it sounds intelligent. It says, "Let's wait until the economy improves. Let's wait until we have more experience. Let's wait until life becomes less stressful." But life never stops being unpredictable. There will always be another challenge, another responsibility, another reason to postpone action. If you keep waiting for perfect conditions, you'll spend your entire life waiting. History is filled with people who achieved extraordinary things without having extraordinary beginnings. They didn't have perfect circumstances. They didn't have unlimited resources. What they had was a decision to stop making excuses, a decision to keep moving, even when progress felt painfully slow. That's something every single person can choose, regardless of age, education, or background. Here's a powerful question to ask yourself. If every excuse you've ever made suddenly disappeared, what would you start doing today? Would you begin exercising? Would you write that first chapter? Would you apply for a better job? Would you finally start saving money? Your answer reveals something important. Deep inside, you already know what needs to be done. The real challenge isn't a lack of knowledge, it's a lack of consistent action.
Most people overestimate what they can accomplish in a single day and underestimate what they can accomplish in 5 years of daily consistency. Success almost never arrives in one dramatic moment. It arrives quietly, one decision at a time, one habit at a time, one disciplined day repeated hundreds of times. That's why people often miss it. They're looking for giant breakthroughs while success is being built through tiny victories that seem almost invisible. Imagine placing a single drop of water on a rock. Nothing changes. Add another drop. Still nothing. Continue for months, even years, and eventually the rock begins to wear away, not because one drop was powerful, but because thousands of small actions accumulated over time. Your habits work exactly the same way. Reading 10 pages a day seems insignificant. Saving a small amount of money feels insignificant. Exercising for 30 minutes doesn't seem life-changing. But when repeated consistently, these tiny actions create results that appear almost magical to people who only notice the final outcome. This is why discipline is far more valuable than motivation. Motivation comes and goes like the weather. Some mornings you'll feel unstoppable. Other mornings you'll feel exhausted, distracted, or discouraged. If your progress depends on motivation, your future will always remain uncertain. Discipline, however, doesn't ask how you feel. It simply reminds you of the commitment you already made. Successful people don't become successful because they're always inspired. They become successful because they've learned to keep their promises to themselves, even on days when nobody is watching. There's another trap that quietly steals years from people's lives. It's called comparison. Social media makes it easy to believe everyone else is moving faster than you. You see someone buying a new house, launching a successful company, traveling the world, or achieving incredible milestones. Without realizing it, you begin comparing your behind-the-scenes struggles with someone else's highlight reel. The result is discouragement. But comparison ignores one important truth. Every person is fighting battles you cannot see. Every successful individual has experienced moments of doubt, loneliness, rejection, and failure that never appeared on social media. Stop measuring your progress against someone else's timeline. The only person you need to be better than is the person you were yesterday. And here's something even more important. Confidence doesn't come before action. It comes because of action. Many people say, once I feel confident, I'll start. But confidence is not the starting point. It's the reward. Every small promise you keep builds trust in yourself. Every challenge you overcome strengthens your belief. Every difficult decision you make proves that you're capable of more than you imagined. Confidence isn't something you wait for. It's something you earn. So, ask yourself honestly, what excuse has been controlling your life? Is it fear of failure, fear of criticism, fear of not being good enough, or perhaps the belief that you've already missed your chance? Whatever it is, remember this: excuses can protect your comfort today, but they'll never build the future you truly want tomorrow. Because the greatest opportunity you'll ever have is not hidden in another city, another country, another job, or another person. It's hidden inside the decisions you make every single day. And once you understand how to control those daily decisions, you'll unlock a level of success that most people never experience.
The truth is, your future isn't created by the biggest decision you'll ever make. It's created by the smallest decisions you repeat every single day. Every morning, before the world begins demanding your attention, you have a choice. You can either take control of your day, or you can allow your day to take control of you. That choice may seem insignificant, but over months and years, it becomes the difference between a life of intention and a life of regret. Imagine waking up every morning with two invisible paths in front of you. The first path is easy. Hit the snooze button, delay your work, check social media, promise yourself you'll start tomorrow. It feels comfortable because it demands nothing from you. The second path is different. Get out of bed when you said you would. Keep the promise you made to yourself.
Do the difficult task before the easy one. Continue even when no one is applauding you. At first, the second path feels harder, but after enough days, it becomes your identity, and identity is far more powerful than temporary motivation. Most people think successful individuals possess extraordinary willpower. In reality, they simply remove unnecessary decisions from their lives. They don't wake up asking whether they should work out. They already decided weeks ago. They don't negotiate with themselves every morning about whether they should write, study, practice, or improve. Those decisions have already been made. This is one of the greatest secrets of discipline. The fewer negotiations you have with yourself, the more energy you have for meaningful progress. Think about an airplane taking off. During the first few minutes, it burns an enormous amount of fuel just to leave the ground. That initial effort is exhausting, but once it reaches cruising altitude, maintaining the journey becomes much easier. Building new habits works exactly the same way. The beginning always feels difficult because you're fighting your old identity. You're asking your mind to accept a new version of yourself. That's why consistency matters more in the first 30 days than almost any other period. One mistake keeps countless people trapped in a cycle of disappointment. They expect immediate results from long-term actions. They exercise for 1 week and expect a dramatic transformation. They save money for 1 month and expect financial freedom. They work on a new skill for a few days and wonder why they haven't become experts. But nature doesn't work that way. A seed doesn't become a tree overnight. Before anything becomes visible above the ground, an invisible foundation is growing underneath. Success follows the same law. Long before the world notices your progress, your character is quietly becoming stronger. There will be moments when you question whether your efforts are making any difference. Those are the moments that define your future, because while most people quit during the invisible stage, extraordinary people continue working even when there's no immediate reward. They understand that every disciplined action is a vote for the person they want to become. Every chapter they read, every workout they complete, every promise they keep is shaping a future that cannot yet be seen. Another lesson many people learn too late is that your environment influences your behavior more than your intentions. If you're constantly surrounded by negativity, distraction, and excuses, eventually you'll begin thinking the same way. But when you surround yourself with people who value growth, responsibility, and action, their standards begin raising your own. That's why successful people carefully protect what they watch, what they listen to, and who they spend time with. They understand that every environment is training them, either for success or for mediocrity. Ask yourself a simple question. If someone watched your daily routine without hearing your goals, what future would they predict for you? Would they believe you're becoming healthier, more disciplined, more knowledgeable, more successful? Or would they assume you're simply passing time? Your schedule tells the truth that your words often hide. The beautiful part is that you don't need to change your entire life today. You only need to win today. 1 focused day becomes 2, 2 becomes 7, 7 become 30, and before long, you've built momentum powerful enough to carry you through challenges that once seemed impossible. Momentum isn't something you find, it's something you create through repeated action. Remember this whenever you feel like giving up. Every expert was once a beginner. Every confident speaker once felt nervous. Every successful entrepreneur once had 0 customers. Every respected leader once doubted themselves. What separated them from everyone else wasn't perfection, it was persistence. They stayed in the game long enough for improvement to become inevitable. But even disciplined people eventually face something that can destroy years of progress in a single season. It's silent, subtle, and almost impossible to notice until it's already taken control. It's called complacency.
At first, it doesn't feel dangerous at all. In fact, it feels comfortable. You tell yourself you've worked hard enough. You convince yourself that taking a break for a day won't matter. Then one day becomes a week becomes a month. Without realizing it, the habits that once built your success slowly begin to disappear. This is why complacency is far more dangerous than failure. Failure wakes you up. It forces you to improve. Complacency, however, quietly puts your ambition to sleep while making you believe everything is fine. Think about a professional athlete who wins a championship. The celebration lasts for a few days, maybe a few weeks, but eventually the training begins again. Why? Because yesterday's victory cannot win tomorrow's competition. The same principle applies to every area of life. Your past achievements cannot replace today's effort. Every sunrise resets the score. Every new day asks the same question: what will you do now? Many people spend years chasing success only to stop growing once they finally achieve a small goal. They earn their first promotion and stop learning. They lose weight and stop exercising. They save money and stop managing their finances wisely. They believe reaching the destination means the journey is over. But growth has no finish line. Life begins pulling you backward the moment you stop improving. Imagine rowing a boat in the middle of a river. As long as you're rowing, you're moving forward. The moment you stop, the current doesn't allow you to stay in the same place. It slowly pushes you backward. Life works exactly the same way. There is no neutral position. You're either growing or drifting, improving or declining, building or losing. Standing still is often an illusion. This is why lifelong learners continue succeeding long after others fade away. They never assume they know everything. Instead, they remain curious. They ask better questions. They read more books. They listen carefully. They welcome feedback instead of avoiding it. Every conversation becomes an opportunity to learn something new. And because they're always learning, they're always adapting. One of the biggest reasons people become complacent is because they begin focusing on outcomes instead of identity. They say, "I want to lose 20 pounds. Once they reach that number, the motivation disappears. Or they say, "I want to make a certain amount of money." Once they achieve it, they stop pushing themselves. But truly successful people think differently. They don't chase temporary outcomes. They build permanent identities. Instead of saying, "I want to write a book," they become a writer. Instead of saying, "I want to get fit," they become someone who never skips taking care of their health. Identity creates consistency because it changes the question from "what do I want" to "who am I becoming?" Here's an important truth that many people ignore. Excellence is never owned, it's rented, and the rent is due every single day. Yesterday's discipline doesn't automatically make today's decisions easier. Every morning, you must earn your progress again. That may sound demanding, but it's also incredibly empowering. It means your future is never determined by your past. Every new day gives you another opportunity to improve. There will be seasons when your motivation disappears completely. During those moments, don't rely on emotions, rely on your systems. Systems keep moving when feelings don't. If you have a habit of reading every night, read one page instead of none. If you usually exercise for an hour, exercise for 10 minutes instead of quitting entirely. Protect the habit even if you reduce the intensity. Consistency keeps momentum alive. Another powerful lesson is learning to celebrate progress without becoming satisfied by it. Gratitude and ambition can exist together. You can appreciate how far you've come while remaining excited about how far you can still go. In fact, that's the healthiest mindset for long-term success. Be proud, but stay hungry. Be confident, but remain teachable. Celebrate the milestone, then quietly return to the work that made it possible. Now ask yourself this question. If you continued living exactly the way you are today for the next 5 years, where would you end up? Don't answer based on your hopes. Answer based on your habits, because habits always tell the truth. They predict the future far more accurately than wishes ever will. The good news is that no matter what your answer is, you can begin changing that future today. You don't need a new year, a new job, or a new opportunity. You only need a new decision.
Every meaningful transformation begins with a single choice, repeated consistently until it becomes part of who you are. But even after building discipline, avoiding excuses, and refusing complacency, one final challenge remains. It's the challenge that separates people who achieve temporary success from those who create an extraordinary legacy. It has nothing to do with money, intelligence, or talent. It has everything to do with the standards you choose to live by.